Hey YouTube, one of these. So it's a Kala U bass, so it's not a Kala one. This is actually a Lanny LB70 bass. Acoustica, St John's Place, Clickheaton, West Yorkshire. Yeah, so it's like a sort of budget version of a Kala U bass. So a bass ukulele. So it's got big rubber strings on it, but it's a ukulele thing. I've done a slight temporary modification to it. This is a tie wrap, just to try and raise the action up a bit. I think if this was actually mine, I would basically just take the strings off, pop the saddle off, stick this in below, or cut this up, stick it in below it and stick it on it, and then that would stop it. So it now seems to be playing without too much buzz. So it's got a surprisingly low bassy sound, considering how small it is. It's not particularly loud, but I mean, if you're talking about sitting playing it in the car or something like that, it'd be totally fine. Or sitting watching telly. So I'll stick it into massive bass amp. It's got a passive pickup in it. I'll just crank it in. There's a wee bit of practice to play it, because you have to sort of, it does have big, and part of the noise is that this, basically what I should probably do is just give it a wee snip there and there, and then that'll be that pretty much sorted. I think it's meant to sound more like an upright bass rather than an electric bass. I can't play anything on an upright bass though, so it's a really strange thing to play. This is a much smaller one. I'm pretty sure I played one of these in Amsterdam, or a U-bass in Amsterdam when I was over there on a stag weekend, and I nearly bought it. I was like, "Pure 40 quid for this? This is great," or €40. And the guy looked at it and went, he sort of peeled the label, and the label sort of folded over. It was actually 400, and it was like, ah. It was much bigger than this, so it was louder, like acoustically. It's really weird. See when you try and bend the strings, they roll because they're a rubber band. So they actually the strings actually twist when you bend them, which is a kind of strange. It's a strange feeling. There's a wee bit of skill in making it so it doesn't buzz. Also, I don't think this is a particularly expensive one. I think these are about £100 and something each, as opposed to the Kala U bass, which is like 400 quid. I actually bought a set probably more than a year ago. In fact, it was more than a year ago. Bought a set of these strings, and I was going to make one out of like a wee nylon string acoustic. But it's actually difficult to find a nylon string acoustic that's a small enough scale. Where's my tape? Because these are a really short scale, and it's like you think, oh, you see lots of wee, sort of Argosy type nylon string acoustics going about for 20 quid, 20 inch. But none of them seem to be 20 inch scale. They always seem to be full scale. I'm just not sure how the strings would take it. I think you need to be quite accurate. Actually, one of the things that's making it quite difficult for me to play is I haven't talked about the dots on the edge of the fretboard, which aren't on this. So it's not. It's because even it's a really strange scale anyway, so it's really short, especially for a bass. But it's even harder to find when you don't have the wee dot to tell you where the G is. So, I suppose my conclusion on this is I don't think I'm going to bother making one. Honestly, it's like I just don't think it's. I kind of like the idea, but there's something funny about acoustic basses in general. I used to have an acoustic bass, and it wasn't. You can't really. It's just not loud enough. I think the only way you can really have a successful acoustic bass is if you get. I think it's called a banjo sexto or something like that. You see it in like mariachi bands, where the guy's got like an acoustic. I think it's got like courses of strings, but the body's like this. You know, it's like a double bass size, just to try. Well, look at the size of a double bass, you know, just to get up to the volume. You just can't get the volume no matter what you do in a general or the same. You can't get the equivalent to a guitar volume. I mean, the acoustic bass I had, I mean, it played lovely and it sounded amazing. But if someone was battering an acoustic next to you, you couldn't hear it, and you ended up constantly absolutely thumping it, you know, playing it like slap bass just so you could hear it. So you needed an amp, and then if you're going to take an amp, then you might as well just take a normal bass, which is much smaller. You know, it's like, so it's like, there's sort of funny. I think that's really why you don't really get acoustic basses, or you do sort of in the last 20 years they sort of started making them, but that's more just for the look rather than the practical side of things. Although the acoustic bass I have, it did sound sort of acousticy and a nice sound. It was just, it came down to I would rather just take a P bass or something like that, because you're gonna have to use an amp anyway. And I suppose if you're having a jam, I think you'd probably play this along with ukuleles, because it is a ukulele, you know, at that sort of volume. But if someone's sitting there strumming away on an acoustic, this is never getting heard unless you've got an amp. I mean, that's obviously a big amp. I suppose it just depends on whether you actually want. The idea is good. I mean, I think that the guy who owns this, actually, he was kind of trying to sell it to me, but unfortunately he told me I did a swap with him last week. Lovely guy, and he's a truck driver, I think. So he obviously this for playing in the truck when he's not obviously driving. That would be dangerous. But you know, when he's having his rest stops and stuff, and he was going. I just didn't like it. I was going, oh, U-Bass, I've always wanted one of them. And he's like, oh, I've got one, and he was talking about how he hated it and how it was just like it didn't suit him. And then he was like, tell you what, do you want to buy it? And it was like after a sort of 10-minute talk about how he didn't like it, and it was like, well, no, I don't think so. No, it's like. So he came back up and dropped off. He was like, I'll give you a shot of it and see if you can find anything you want to swap for it. And it's just I just don't want to. I mean, it's quite fun to play. I mean, but the thing is, for me, it was one of these things that once I've played it for half an hour, you go, yeah, it's great. I don't think I'd ever play it again. So I mean, that was my fix. That this is the action was just far too low. There's no truss rod in this. I just basically needed to raise the saddle up. So this tie wrap. What I'm just going to do, I think I'll just snip the ends off the tie wrap, and that so it's not quite as flappy. You can maybe use that as a percussive thing. It's got some sounds. Even just playing it for the last 10 minutes, you just get kind of used to it. For learning or working stuff out. Obviously complaining it's got like a deep punchy sound, but I mean it's like these are rubber band strings, and you can you can pretty much put a bow in that and just pull it. I don't want to pull it out of tune, but it's like I'm pretty sure you could pull that right out to about here quite easily. It does hold tune. The reason I didn't, I haven't undone the strings, take the saddle out, put this piece of plastic beneath the saddle just to raise the action up, is when I got it, it was like tune, it was slightly flat, so it was like, this was coming in at just above E flat instead of E, and it was about 10 turns on the tuner because these are big stretchy things, so you're sitting there and it's like, I mean, to get that, if you put that string on unstretched, you're going to be there for 5 minutes just going just winding this thing on because it's so stretchy. It's like it's pure ridiculous. But once it's in tune, it seems to stay there. And it's quite a pleasant sound. It's kind of its own thing. I mean, I've actually got a Telecaster ukulele, and the only reason I keep it is because my girlfriend can play the ukulele. But it's like a ukulele is its own thing, and I don't like it. It would probably actually go quite well if you were playing lead on a ukulele. This would just be perfect. Oh, and I was in the studio yesterday with the Black Sabbath band, and I took in my new amp to see what it was like, and it totally did the job. I was worried it wasn't going to be loud enough, but it was totally loud enough. I had the gain up at about 3/4 and the volume at less than half, and it was absolutely thunderous. Probably two. I didn't have it set up very well because I normally in the studio they've got like an 8x10 cabinet, and when I was in last week we were in a different studio and there's a 4x10 cabinet with one of these wee micro head, the sort of modern tiny little amps, and I had everything on it to try and get the bassiness up. I had everything at treble on it turned down and everything at bass on it turned up to try and make it to overcome the sort of punchiness of the 410s. It's kind of the same with the big Ampeg. I think it's an Ampeg that's in the studio, the 8x10. It's just a lot of a lot of punch and high end, which doesn't really suit for Sabbath. So that was just got the 15-inch speaker. So I just did absolute spades of bass. I'm used to having to turn bass up, and it's that one I think I just had it turned up too loud. But couldn't so much hear it as feel it vibrating through the floor. And it really was. It was like standing in front of an air vent. It would be it didn't actually record it. Didn't sound as loud in the recording as it did when I was there. I was just constantly going like that, pure apologising because it was just a pure and it was just pure amazing. So that I'm going to possibly be using that as a gigging amp. When I'm doing smaller, I'll use this one for if we're doing a headline show or something like that, which I don't know is not going to happen just now, but just if I need to take an amp, I'm just going to take that because it fits in the car without having to take the back seats out. Yeah, so a Kala bass. I'm glad I got a wee shot one because I would have bought one just more out of curiosity than anything else. Not that I really get any particular use for it, but it's fun, and it's like I can totally see how you could have this, sitting in the car if you're doing deliveries or if you're sitting maybe not waiting in traffic, but you know what I mean. I used to get the ferry to work at one point. It was a 20-minute ferry journey to work, every day and then running back. You could easily just sit, and it's a nice size. I could just sit in. Acoustically, the low E is very, very low. Still there. I'd find myself playing more on the sort of A up. Fun. Yeah, and it's just tuned to EADG, the same way you tune the normal bass, so it's quite... Everything's in... You don't have to bother learning what note's what. They're all exactly where you expect them to be. Rock and roll, U-bass.